1MDB has sparked embezzlement and money laundering investigations across
one of the
at least
biggest
10
corruption
countries.
scandals the world has ever seen.
What may be the biggest financial scam in history.
A number of corrupt 1MDB officials treated this public trust as a personal bank account.
Follow us as we bring you into the courtroom where the biggest financial scandal in Malaysian history is being heard. By the Malaysian Insight, this is the Najib Razak 1MDB trial, and I'm Patrick Teo. Najib Razak was not in the dark about what was going on in the Sovereign Wealth Fund, the prosecution's ninth witness told the court today. In fact, he had a good grasp of what was happening. After more than 1 year on the witness stand, former 1MDB CEO Shahrul Halmi was finally released. Najib Razak's lead counsel, Shafi Abdullah, wrapped up Shahrul's cross-examination today. The lawyer did not beat around the bush. He pointed out to Shahrul that under his stewardship, 1MDB had made massive losses. In light of the losses, didn't you have the slightest inkling that fugitive businessman Low Tek Joe was covering his tracks? Shafi asked. Shahrul replied that even at that time, he thought Joe Low was in concert with Najib to solve the problems around 1MDB's financial situation due to the company's mounting debt. Shafi suggests that the businessman was in fact a shadow director of 1MDB. He informs the witness that he has no evidence to show the court that the instructions relayed to him by Joe Low actually came from Najib. Shahrul wasn't perturbed by this. He calmly answered that in his mind the instructions came from the shareholder, Najib. It completes the loop because when we needed formal documents, they were invariably agreed to and signed by Najib, he said. Next, Shafi brought up the $330 million transferred from 1MDB to Good Star Limited, a company controlled by Joe Low. Shafi said it should frighten any CEO to send such a large sum of money without checking who Good Star was. It wasn't negligence, it was a scheme by you to siphon money for Joe Low, the lawyer accused. But Shahrul disagreed. The lawyer continued to accuse the witness. He accused him of making a deal with investigative agencies to be the principal witness in the trial, and in return they would go soft on him. Even 1MDB never sued you, the lawyer said. Once again, Shahrul disagreed. Shafi concluded his cross-examination by accusing Shahrul of criminal breach of trust. You could be charged for all these transactions, he said. And if you guessed that Shahrul disagreed, you're right. Once Shafi was done, lead prosecutor Gopal Sriram began his re-examination. He brought up several questions that were asked by the defense for Shahrul to clarify. Sriram asked Shahrul if he had received any of the embezzled money during his tenure as CEO. Not a single cent, Shahrul said. The prosecution then asked him about Joe Low's position in 1MDB. Shahrul maintained that Joe Low was the one who relayed information and instructions from Najib to him, as well as painted the plan around the business of 1MDB. Why didn't you verify with Najib that the instructions were from him? Sriram questioned. Shahrul explained that from the beginning, all instructions and details contained within the talking points were either consistent with the actions or subsequent actions of Najib or repeated by him on various occasions. The defense had always maintained that Najib knew nothing of the role Joe Low played. What led you to believe that Najib was aware? The lawyer quizzed. It was the pattern of actions and decisions made by Najib, Sharul said. Not only during my tenure as CEO, but more so after that in 2013 to 2016. He added that Najib's actions were consistent with the talking points and decisions made by the management. As a matter of fact, there were 1 or 2 specific occasions where I chatted with Najib and he had a firm grasp of what's happening in the company, he said. So he wasn't in the dark? The prosecutor asked. Not at any point did I feel that way, Sharul replied. Moving on, Sriram asked Sharul about his performance as CEO of 1MDB. It was put to you that you breached your duty as the CEO and are liable to criminal prosecution and civil suits. Did Najib express any unhappiness about your performance? Sriram asked. Sharul said there was no such thing. With regards to his 18-month bonus amounting to 1.4 million ringgit and his salary increment, Sharul said they were both approved by Najib. Before wrapping up his re-examination, Sriram asked Sharul, to the best of his knowledge, if Najib took any steps to bring a case against Joe Low in Malaysia. To the best of my knowledge, no, Sharul answered. With that, Sharul was finally released. The next witness to take the stand is Muhammad Hassem Abdul Rahman, the CEO of 1MDB, after Sharul. The trial will continue on Monday, 7th September. This podcast was brought to you by the Malaysian Insight. It is produced, written and mixed by Rivati Supramaniam. I'm Patrick Teo.